And good afternoon, everybody. As we are getting ready, we're just a few hours away from kickoff, and less than a half hour away from the noon kickoff games beginning today around the NFL. And I am Charles Prodigy Richey, host here of the Man of Steel podcast. As we get ready to get into this edition of Show Blitz right now, Steelers will be visiting the Denver Broncos later on this afternoon. You guys could definitely stream that game today on CBS and Paramount, uh, pretty much. So yeah, so NFL Paramount or no, for Paramount where it's on your local area, depending on what your streaming provider or your cable has going on in your area, or you could just get by Sunday NFL ticket or watch your favorite Steeler bar. For those of you that will be deciding to like listen to in your car as a Sirius XM subscriber, you can also catch the game on channel 381. And today's game, right now, they'll be have look to for a daunting challenge right here. What they haven't done in a long time is beat the Broncos in Denver, which has not been done in 15 years, which is definitely going to be a big, has been problematic for them all time going down there. And for today's game, we'll be seeing on CBS, it'll be Farrell Diaz with M. Archuleta having the call on CBS for the play-by-play in color. And on the sideline, we'll be having a Didi Kinkawala. But like I said, the Pittsburgh Steelers right now, all-time versus in the Mile High atmosphere has not been too kind to them as they're all-time 6 games under 500, 3-9. They have one tie down there versus the Broncos. And last time you had to look back for a tie going on the all-time head-to-head rivalry for them, that was back in 1974. Year they won their first Super Bowl. But nonetheless, like I said, all-time head-to-head, including the playoffs, when traveling to Denver, they are minus 61. And then here's another double whammy to throw in there right there, too, when you look at, I mean, Mike Tomlin, too, who usually struggles against Sean Payton. I mean, Mike Tomlin, yes, he is second amongst active coaches, right behind Andy Reid in career wins with 182 victories. Sean Payton, he is only 13 behind Mike Tomlin with 169 with his stints with the long tenure with the Saints, and then now his second season going in with the Broncos right now. Mike Tomlin, of course, who has made the playoffs 11 out of 17 seasons, while Sean Payton has made the playoffs 9 times out of 16 seasons so far. But like I said, getting back to one of the big concerns right now for me about this game, like I said, they usually do struggle versus the Broncos. But now that Mike Tomlin is winless versus Sean Payton, Sean Payton has a perfect 3-0 record versus Mike Tomlin when they go up against each other. They had their key matchups back in 2010, 2014, 2018. 2 out of those 3 matchups were on the road in New Orleans, and they lost at home 10 years ago, back around November. I want to say it was end of November. I thought it was a crucial game right there, but they actually managed to find a way to win the division that year, get back to the playoffs for that season after a 3-year absence. But anyway, yeah, I mean, you look at one of the things too, Sean Payton too. Now, listen, I mean, he is trying to do something right now, join an elite class where he could be that first ever head coach that could win a Super Bowl with 2 different teams. Now, of course, you currently have like amongst your active coaches, Andy Reid. He has done that job, uh, where he's taken one team to the Super Bowl, has won with another team. So technically, he's only one team, but he's done it with different quarterbacks of style. When you look at Don McNabb and the Patrick Mahomes, but at the end of the day, right now, I mean, Sean Payton definitely has his number. I mean, right now, and it just usually gets pretty like same finishes. I mean, when you look at what Mike Tomlin's done versus like Sean Payton, like I said, I wish could be a lot more better and improved, but it's just really not that interesting. I mean, you look at the first time they matched up 14 years ago. This was back on Halloween, Sunday Night Football. Steelers, they would eventually go to the Super Bowl that year. They would lose to the defending Super Bowl champions, Drew Brees and company, right there, 20-10 in that game. Now, the next contest, like I said, you fast forward to November 30th, the final day of November. They will lose a game that got away from them late. They lost that game by a field goal, 35-32. Then, of course, everyone remembers, too, uh, over 6 years ago, which is the key blow to their season right there. And were they found themselves with significant standing right there. I think for the moment, I mean they found themselves be what I think it was like 7-2-1, something along those lines, or 6-2-1, or the record was, but they would miss the playoffs that year. And yeah, I mean, it definitely surged the Ravens ahead for the division where the Steelers needed them to lose the final week versus Browns. It did not happen. That game was infamously remembered by Juju Smith Schuster right there, too, who had like a crucial drop pass in the late moments, so too, in that game. And it definitely wasn't a fun time for the Zebras being out there in the field either, too. I mean, when you look at, I mean, there was definitely a questionable, I think it was a pass interference call when we look back at this game right here. I mean, Juju Smith-Schuster, I mean, he had no, so it wasn't a drop pass. It was actually a catch for 7 yards and then a fumble, which was recovered by the Saints uh, to Mario Davis, which was forced by Sheldon Rankins right there. But yeah, but you look at it right there too. I mean, it was just definitely ridiculous right there. I mean, it was, yeah, the pass interference right there in the game that was questionable was on Joe Hayden for 4 yards late in the game that was intended for Michael Thomas. So Saints were driving right there. It was a 4th and 2, and they actually called the pass interference, which kept the drive alive. They were at the Pittsburgh's 26-yard line at that point. Pittsburgh Steelers fought the half stop right there, which will eventually sealed up the game. They were actually up ahead 20-24. They would go ahead and lose that game by a field goal 20-31. But here we are right now. Like I said, Sean Payton, so far to this point, he's got Mike Tomlin's number. But I mean, at least two out of the three were somewhat close. I mean, if you think about it, I mean, the last two appearances, not, I mean, not so much the first one, but this stuff would be real interesting because right now, one of the things to be significantly aware of too, the Saints right now, so far after the first week, they're number one in the league as far as dialing up the most blitzes here going into this game. And I think that's going to definitely be one thing that could be a little bit proved to be problematic right here for the season. They have dialed up 12 blitzes so far off of 28 dropbacks, while their pressures right now so far, not in the top 10, but barely just missed out. But they're 12th with 8 pressures so far for about 29% for the year. Those are some things you got to recognize. I mean, Sean Payton, definitely a good defensive mind, but trying to find that guy right now to be, since he had the luxury of Brew Breeze, I mean, for like a 15-year period right now, he's trying to find that next guy right now. We'll see if that could happen with Bo Nix, by the way. But remember, I mean, Justin Fields, I mean, the irony of all this. So remember, I mean, we go into Bo Nix since releasing the 9-time Pro Bowl and Super Bowl champion Russell Wilson. Broncos ended up paying $37.8 million of his $39 million salary, while the Steelers were able to get him for the minimum $1.2 million right there. But also, too, let's not forget, Mike Florio did mention, too, that they had $85 million in dead cap, which they chose to spread out in a 2-year period. $53 million paid this year and $32 million the following season. And right now, I mean, it's still unknown if Russell Wilson, if he's going to be playing this game. He's definitely listed on questionables. We'll get to the injury report in just a few moments here. But Yeah, I think for right now you got have some concerns here. I think right now, I mean, Bo Nix, I mean, we'll see if Sean Payton gets his way right here. He had to really do a makeover on this team, really get some guys that he did not want on there, especially Russell Wilson. You could tell definitely a lot of love hate relationship. I thought I brought out the best in Russell Wilson last year, despite some, like, the criticism of him not releasing the ball quick enough or taking lesser sacks. But here we are right now. Knicks right now. Uh, he set a collegiate record for starts in the career with 61 over 5 seasons with Auburn and Oregon. His track record in the NFL consists of his play in the preseason and his first career start last weekend versus Seahawks. A game which Broncos lost, by the way, 26-20. Now that doesn't leave also with a lot of game tape to look to assess the young quarterback strength and weaknesses. But I would think Terrell right now, when looking at this, going into this matchup, his comments were saying, you look at the preseason, studying Knicks this week. We talked to our scouting department and what they thought of him as a quarterback coming out, his strengths and weaknesses, and those different things. And right now, they definitely do got a little less going into this game. How they're going to find a way to dial him up, how they're going to find a way and the cover this guy on the game. Right now, I mean, I think right now, I think Peyton for the moment has won this battle. I mean, when you think about like, Russell Wilson, I mean, everything going on. I mean, you got him on the cheap, which is not a problem. The only problem is right now, who continues to deal right now with a strained calf injury that he's injured during training camp. For the second straight week, he is listed as questionable. He was limited all week. Look at the remaining starters here that were listed on the injury report. Once again, you already have Isaac some say a model. Remember that was like determined, I think, like towards like one of the last preseason games right there. He's dealing with a pec injury. Of course, he is out, but again, remember going into the season after they formulated the 53-man roster, there was hopes that he could return back sooner right now. So that's all you got right there. But their backup receiver, Romo Wilson, he was dealing with an ankle injury. He is questionable for today's matchup. That's going to be the thing right there. I think it's definitely going to be important to keep that offensive line healthy right now. If they can find a way to continue to protect things, keep this simple, I think the Steelers will be in good shape for today's matchup versus Broncos. They'll have a chance, but at the end of the day, it is Denver, which I think a lot of Steelers fans will agree. You do not trust visiting out there. It's not just the altitude, but just they just never had any good luck playing down there all time historically. Even just the steel curtain. I mean, when you think about it, I mean, it's just ridiculous right there. I mean, like even the steel curtain, when you think about it, I mean, their run right there. I mean, think about this for a second. I mean, they are 1-2-1 versus the Broncos when traveling down to the Mile High City, including during their championship run too. I mean, you only won one time there back in '78, and that was pretty much it. But yeah, and that was Terry Bradshaw's one and only MVP. This Steelers' only league MVP in franchise history. Of course, they got a lot of defensive player of the years, but that should tell you right there. I mean, it took that season to like beat them, even when they were at their best. It always just seems to be like a riddle involved. It would be like, let me put it to you this way: Steelers visiting the Mile High Stadium is kind of like watching a classic and West Batman series. You could almost count like 9 times out of 10 until they brought him back roll, like the third or fourth season. Every time he was going to square off against a villain, it was guaranteed that him and Robin, or either him or Robin, will be set up in some sort of trap at the end of the first episode, and then see him come out of it. That's how crazy this is. Now, as far as like getting the upper hand right now, I would like to see. Hopefully, we could be proven wrong on this. But for right now, is definitely going to be a lot at stake right now. Starting off, I mean, just get this team's confidence. I mean, and see if the Steelers right now. I mean, let's see if they could do something right now they haven't done in a while. Right now, they could rattle off two straight victories, which would be the first time since 4 years ago. Of course, they won that ridiculous run where they finally lost, like in December, to the Washington Commanders, which was then the Washington football team, back where they had like a stretch of games because of COVID. But still, I mean, I would just like to see if they could find a way to go like start off the season with two straight victories. That'd be a nice way. We still got a lot of ways to go. I mean, the 17 game season. I mean, all this right here, I really feel like right now they could definitely be a tone setter for their season. They usually haven't had pretty much like consistently good starts. I mean, the last 10 years where they railed off like consecutive victories to start off or whatever. I think they started off nice, but what I'm talking about is like the streak of the games. It was kind of like a rarity, even when during the Killer B era. But for right now, they are going to be traveling in Denver right now, going up against Bo Nix and the respectable defense, which we'll get to in a minute here. But yeah, I think right now you gotta like what you see right now so far in Justin Fields. I think the only problem is right now critic, my critique after watching him last week. I thought he made some great reads a few times, like earlier when throwing on the run though, just overthrew the ball just a little bit. I think just Justin just needs to calm down just a little bit more there. But I mean, it was just nice to see guys like Najee Harris. I mean, just to like control that running game. I mean, on the ground versus the Falcons. I mean, like team wise, I mean, they outgained the Falcons right here uh, for the most part by 48 yards, 137 to 89 yards rushing. Now, the Steelers did have to work for those yards. They averaged 3.3. The Falcons did average about 4 yards per carry. Did a nice job, I think, limiting Bijan Robinson in that game, but he still had a good day for scrimmage yards purposely for the total in that game. He finished his afternoon in that game where he had about zero point 0.3 touches for 111 yards. Now, they kept it out of the end zone, which is good. I mean, the only touchdown they allowed by Kirk Cousins, which was from the Kyle Pitts right there. But I think you definitely got to be encouraged right now. I think the only concern, like right now, where I'm getting concerned with is their lack of consistency in the red zone right now, especially in the last 5 seasons. I mean, and one time out of those 4 seasons, which was back in 2020, Ben's return year, they ranked 11th. The year before that, they were 32nd when Ben was out for the year during that home opener in week 2 versus Seattle Seahawks 5 years ago. They were down finishing in the red zone, dead last in the league. So think about it. I mean, when he came back, yes, he did slow down the remainder of that season, of course, with like the elbow and stuff. But even still, that was a big difference right there too. That really set them up nicely. Now we know how that season finished, but I think if anything, for what I'm seeing so far, I'm liking the speed so far with this team. Definitely liking the camaraderie. Justin Fields, I still need to see more of it. I'm gonna still be giving it tough love. I'm still not fully on deck with him under center at quarterback, but I do believe they got like a lot of like solidarity going on right now. I think they definitely do got a unit that's willing to believe, willing to fight for one another, and willing to play as a group. So I mean, for right now, I think the Steelers just gotta just find a way to stay focused in right now. Got great locker room chemistry. I'm just not so sure I'm ready to buy in to this idea that for this moment that either one of these guys, it'll be between Justin Fields or Russell Wilson, will stick around a little bit in their future. I'm just not so sure of that. I think if anything, Justin Fields realistically, if they are going, which probably end up being him sticking around, I'll probably say like no more than 2 years, maybe three. I don't see it being a long thing. If anything, I see these guys being as significant chess pieces for the future should they struggle. But I mean, for right now, I mean, it is exciting to watch. It is exciting to see the movement. I mean, a lot of it had to do too. They were playing indoors last week too. So when you're not being exposed to the weather elements, it's hey, it's still technically summer for about one more week, and then before once you go like extreme weather conditions, right here too. Listen, I'm still holding Justin Fields to the fire. Basically, back when he was Chicago Bear. I mean, one of the things he said almost 2 years ago in the 2023 off season was that he hopes that Soldier Field they build a dome. Listen, I mean, at the end of the day, I respect that. I mean, we're definitely trying to care the more player safety in the league. But at the end of the day, you got to find a way to get over that. You got to find a way to haul, like how you're gonna like make that work. I mean, it's just bottom line is this one thing that remains to be true that is almost a certain guarantee as long as this league continues to exist. You're gonna have to find a way to play in cold weather games if you eventually have to go travel on the road. This is not a dome stadium team, so you're gonna have to deal with that. That'd be my biggest pet peeve so far. But definitely attacking in the red zone are things they need to get more correctable in there and just settle down a little bit on the penalties so far, for the most part. As we look at checking out some few tweets right now going into this game, we'll take a look at Jerry Dulac, who's usually from the Pittsburgh Post Gazette right now. Just checked in about at the Mile High Stadium so far, pretty much practically empty. Uh, According to Rich Walsh, too, by the way, of KDKA, sunny day out here in Denver for today's game against the Broncos. He'll be joining Jerry Dulac and Mile High and Katie Pop Bob Papiani and Charlie Batch back in studio. Steelers pregame is currently going on. No, it already went on. Excuse me, it already went on at 11:30 a.m. Eastern. But right now. But like I said, the plan for right now is to start Justin Fields for the most part. The next two games, Sunday endeavor against the Broncos and the home opener versus the Chargers. While Wilson continues to rest his injured calf so it doesn't morph into something worse. Now, Mike Tomlin did say the Steelers are preparing as though Justin Fields will start in Denver. He said Russell Wilson said he's feeling better than he did, but he won't practice till Thursday at the earliest. Potential problem brewing right here, which I could kind of agree with right now, which I see from Jerry Dulac's point of view right now. Let's just say if they do manage to rack off another victory, they win this game, then you have another win, like say over the Chargers 3-0 right now, and Russell Wilson gets comes back uh, healthy, excuse me. Now, I mean, he feels like that Tomlin's allowing such a narrative, a narrative continue that it'd be unreasonable for Fields to believe he was competing to be the starter when in fact he probably wasn't. Because remember, all Mike Tomlin just said as a reminder, Russell Wilson had pole position. He never named a starter, but I mean, he was definitely relying on Wilson's background and his experience, his pedigree right there, which is reasonable to believe. But that's all. I mean, look what happened like about 10 years ago. Like say with LeGarrette Blount and Melvin Ingram, for example, especially LeGarrette Blount, who ended up walked off on his team ahead towards the end of the game versus the Titans, where he actually got released not too long after that. That was a crucial move right there. The Steelers did return back to the playoffs, but when Bell got hurt in the final game of the season versus the Bengals, like I said, I'm still one of the people that maintain, yes, I want to keep a respectful locker room, but I also don't want to shoot myself in the foot in case you needed a guy for insurance purposes. I think he could still have been valuable in that regard. He ends up going back to the Patriots, wins a Super Bowl with them, gets a pair of them, and of course, with the Eagles, I believe. But anyway, I mean, Jerry continues to say it'll be easy to point to gamemanship, the ploy many coaches use when not wanting to tip your hand to the opponent before absolutely necessary. But there weren't even any games being played when this was unfolding at St. Vincent College and Latrobe. Now, when Whistling expected the next two games, Tom will remain non-committal on a weekly basis, which is his right. It is the game they played. Now, Mike Tomlin delivered the ultimate irony the other day when he said he doesn't pay attention to what is being discussed, nor does he care about what is being said about the National League, I mean, the national intrigue that surrounds his quarterback room. Never mind that he is personally responsible for filling the narrative. But anyway, I mean, you see his point right there, right now. I mean, it's like you're doing this as gamesmanship, or he's trying to do like a little fire up the butt right there with some competition right there. Make sure, like, send the message that nobody's job is safe. And I mean, he's going to be a guy that does not care about other people's butthurt feelings. I mean, if it comes across like borderline toxic, you're more than likely gone. You just, especially in football, it continues to be a reminder, especially for the Steelers. One thing you don't ever mess with is a locker room chemistry that could like slowly derail things route right now. In case any of you guys are wondering right now, just watching in the corner of my eye, something ticket. I got the volume off, so no respect. Guys are wondering, it's the Raiders. No, yeah, it's the biggest Raiders traveling to the Baltimore Ravens. It looks like the Raiders got the ball in their opening drive right now. As we take a look at, they're punting right now, 4th and 10. It appears to be from their 15-yard line, so they go 4 and out. It's 4th and 18 right now. That drive lasted pretty much 2 minutes and 5 seconds right there. So the Ravens are getting the ball back, and it looks like they're going to be having a nice field position, a nice return. But anyway, yeah, gotta be careful with that. I mean, Melvin Ingram was definitely another one here too. I mean, you really thought he was going to be a big help. I mean, for this team, and I think he was brought in here to be like the inside linebacker. But anyway, he came to the Steelers back in 2021. Came over from the Chargers. He only played 6 games here in that time, and only produced 10 tackles and 2 tackles for loss. But he would actually eventually return to the Chiefs later on that season. But anyway, yeah, just gotta be careful with how the message is being communicated. But I mean, at the end of the day, Tom's gonna find a way to just do anything he can to win football games. So let's go ahead and get into keys to the game to wrap this up real quick. For the moment, keys of the game. Key number one: clean pocket. Steelers did a great job, in my opinion, protecting the ball, which does let them win the turnover battle. They were able to be beneficiaries of 9 points off those turnovers. Uh, but the only unfortunate thing, they had to settle down for field goals. We'll get into my second key in just a moment. But slowing down the sacks will be ideal. Now they only had 2 sacks last week, which wasn't that bad. I think they only had 2 sacks for like 23 yards. But one guy to pay attention to right here, I definitely look for left tackle Dan Moore to be matched up versus Jonathan Cooper right there, one of their outside linebackers. And the reason why I say that, I mean, for the most part, I mean, who's their strong side linebacker? Definitely a guy capable of calling the blitz right here. But I mean, Justin Field does under pressure right here. He's a guy right now who has caused who's leads his team with sacks. There are only 2 sacks with 4 quarterback hits. And like I said, they lead the league with blitzes being called with 12 right now. So that's one guy to pay attention to. And also, too, one of their respected, you guys could say veteran quarterbacks at this point, Pat Surtain, who's been consistently leading his team in pass deflections and a huge assist. He has been one All Pro from about 2 years ago. 2 years ago, he was an All Pro team member. So that'd be key number one. Now, like I said, as far as like slowing down the sacks, I mean, last week they basically settled for all field goals, so they're going to have to find a way to execute in the red zone. And last week, Justin and his team nearly blew it, especially with 8 minutes remaining in the game right there, where you saw a botched 4th and 1, which was a turnover on downs. Thankfully, it was deep in their territory, but I mean, in that sequence right there, when they enter the red zone, 3 off 5 running plays were called in that sequence right there. That just goes to just shows like the struggle right now. Justin, he's continuing trying to find some confidence, get some growth in his career as a quarterback. I mean, also as a learning curve though too. As this team continues to grow under Arthur Smith right there. You do not want to continue to have that theme flowing around. You're selling for field goals. You're asking to lose games, in my opinion, that way. And we all know that. So finish the job right there. I think they can just pick up the running just a little bit more, better yards per average. Let's see if we get that up to over like 4, close to 5 yards, especially Najee Harris right there. I thought did a solid job last week in that game versus Falcons. I mean, he had 3.5 yards off of 20 carries, gained 70 yards for that moment, and he had an additional 9 yards catching. So he had in that game 21 touches for 79 yards, no touchdowns, and that'd be another thing too. And also like see if like either Jalen Warren or Bo Pruitt. I mean, how that's going to work out. So let's see how this goes. And then my last key for this game, special teams right now. Now I had someone bring this up to me. Figure it could be a notable concern, maybe not too much of a major blow, but we'll find out. Hunter Cameron Johnson, who suffered a season-ending knee injury versus the Falcons, which turned out after running into his leg. Miles Killebrew actually got penalized during that play for like the block, I believe, or hold. But anyway, he was brought here on the 3-year, $9 million contract back in March of free agency. Corliss Waitman right now, who actually came back after playing for the team 3 years ago in Ben's final season, he'll get the nod. He has a career 103 punts, averaging 46.9 yards with his long being 63 when he last played for the Black and Gold, Big Ben's final year. So once again, the keys just to wrap up for this podcast here, this pregame show. Clean pocket, protecting the quarterback just a little bit more. Continue to keep that trend going. I mean, if you keep the quarterback, you'll increase your chances of not turning over the ball right there and protecting it. 2, finishing the job, executing the red zone. When you get trips to the red zone, we gotta see touchdowns. Like I said, they've only like one other time where they're 11th in the league, where they went from dead last in 2019 to 11th, the Ben's return year, where they got that. And then last but not least, special teams. I mean, we'll see how this continues to loom right there. I thought Chris Boswell, I think he deserved the ultimate game ball of the week right there for just kicking a perfect 6 for 6, but also to being utilized as an emergency punter in that game. So that's going to do it for this edition here of Show Blitz here of the Metal Steel podcast. You guys can follow me on my social media on X at Metal Steel CGR and on Instagram at Metal Steel Nation. Did I leave you? Don't be trolling. Be rolling. Here we go, Steelers. Here we go. I go. Thank you for watching the Metal Steel podcast with your host, Charles Prodigy Richey, here on YouTube. Please make sure to hit that subscribe button. And for all the latest Metal Steel podcast episodes, feel free to download them on Mixcloud, Anchor.fm, and SoundCloud, wherever you get your podcasts.